Alright, team, so we're back, of course, to talk about some Final Fantasy 16, and we're just here with like kind of a little smaller update for the game, but apparently it is doing well. The pre-orders for the game are doing pretty great on Amazon specifically. We had an article drop yesterday from Push Square that like everybody was sharing on Twitter and super excited about. The game is doing quite well on like the UK charts and the US charts on Amazon, and if you actually go to like the US charts for video games and go to PlayStation 5 specifically, it's the number one game. And it's actually interesting for a few reasons. For starters, 16 is not dropping for another couple months, right? It doesn't come out until June 22nd. But it's actually beating games that are coming out relatively soon, like Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Like, that game's dropping in like 2 weeks, right? In fact, 16 is also beating like 2K23, which is insane because sports games do well every single year. And actually, 16's got 2 of the top 5 spots, as does Jedi Survivor. And if you actually go over to like PS5 as a whole, where it's factoring in like consoles and accessories and gift cards and shit, 16 still is the best-selling game, and it's in the top 10 of everything for PS5. Things are a bit different if you go over to like the overall video game charts, however, where it's factoring in every platform and every single item. Now, as of the time that Push Square put out the article, 16 was in the top 50 on the US charts. That's not anymore. As I'm making a video now, it's actually number 53, which is still great when you factor in that there's actually only like 4 other games that are actually in the top 50 anyways. 2 Mario games, which isn't really a surprise, like who cares, whatever. It's also being beat by the Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection, which is kind of crazy just because I did buy that. I am excited to play that again. I just didn't expect it to be like doing so well. And then obviously Tears of the Kingdom is dominating motherfucking everything because it's almost the number 1 item in video games overall. So that would of course mean that overall, if we're factoring in like every platform, like right now, Final Fantasy 16 is like the 5th best-selling game on Amazon, which is a pretty good feat. And that, of course, is only factoring in the pre-orders. Like, the pre-orders for 16 right now are beating out other games for pre-orders, but also other games that are already out and that you can physically buy as well. That would show, however, that there is some level of a downward trend already, right? Because people were excited that it's like the best-selling PS5 game yesterday, and it's in the top 50 on the US charts, and then today, before I can even get around to making a video about it, it's already fallen out of the top 50. It'll be interesting to see where it's at exactly, like, tomorrow, right? Is it still going to be 53? Is it going to be higher? Is it going to be lower? But anyways, putting that shit aside, this is actually pretty exciting for a few reasons. For one, a topic of discussion for a lot of the last couple years for 16 is us kind of curious how it's going to do, just because there's several things working against it. The main one being that, you know, they're stepping fully into the action RPG like world, right? Like 7 Remake was doing that, but there's still that element of like the original Final Fantasy games, a little bit of the ATB system and menus and battles and shit like that. And 16's fully embracing the action aspect of that. And that's obviously going to push a lot of like people away, but it seems like the game's doing perfectly fine regardless. And to be honest, I was that person at 1.2 when it came to the franchise, right? When we first started seeing them shift into the action genre with like Final Fantasy 15 and Remake. But after having played those games, and specifically in this case for me, Remake, like, you know, I embrace it. I'm excited for the future. I don't know if this is the future of the franchise. I don't know if like Final Fantasy 17 is going to be an action RPG, and I guess that's all kind of dependent on how well 16 does. But as of right now, I'm perfectly fine with it, man. The other thing that's sort of working against it is it being, for one, next gen only, but also specifically only on the PS5. Like, it's not coming to Series X, maybe ever, based on what they did with Remake. So we don't even know if it's ever going to come to the Xbox platform, but it's not going to come to PC for, at minimum, half a year. But based on what Yoshida said in like the past, it will be more than half a year until a PC version comes out. So for the foreseeable future, the only way that you can play Final Fantasy 16 is on a PlayStation 5. And that's still hard to get for some people, but it's very dependent on where you live at, right? Because where I live at, I moved like late 2021, and last year I bought 2 PS5s from my local Walmart. I was able to just walk in and buy them. And even now when I walk in, they occasionally have like 2 or 3 in the case or whatever. So it's just very dependent on where you live at. But still, it's hard for some people to get PS5. But there is actually quite a bit of PS5 sold in the world, right? We know as recent as like February of this year that there was like 30-something million units sold. And so obviously there's a big audience for the PS5 now, but clearly any game would do better if it was on more platforms. It's just kind of how that works, right? If the game was launching on PC, but also if they were to do Xbox as well, like the game would just sell better. But regardless, it's going to do fine. I'm also very curious how like 16 is going to do overall from like the launch sales to like overall sales in like, you know, a month or 2 or whatever the case, and kind of versus Remake, just because Remake launched also as a PlayStation exclusive. It had a much bigger audience given that the PS4 had like 100+ million units. It did launch during a pandemic, but it still had a fantastic launch, one of the best launches for the PlayStation 4. So I'm kind of curious how this game is going to perform. Anyways, but that's more or less the video. Again, it's just kind of a quicker news video. We kind of discussed some other stuff, made the video a little bit longer because I want to put out like a 2-minute video. But it seems like the game's doing well. The pre-orders for 16 are doing great months ahead of time. There's still months for them to still market the game and lead up to the release. So like the fact that it's just topping charts right now is crazy. Anyways, that's the video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Social networks in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, @DavidYT. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Low Gain or leave it like Cobain.